Welcome to our deep dive on the threat to dual citizenship, loyalty tests, and the looming legal crisis. We will explore what these proposals mean, how they could work, the constitutional and global implications, and what you can do if affected. Let's begin by setting the stage and outlining our roadmap. Here's the plan for this video. First, we will frame the context and stakes. Next, we will define dual citizenship and examine loyalty tests. Then, we will assess the legal landscape and global approaches. After that, we will analyze constitutional and human rights issues and walk through case studies. We will finish with practical steps, a quick quiz, and key takeaways. Recent legislative proposals argue that dual citizens may lack commitment to a single nation, prompting ideas like loyalty tests and revocation mechanisms. Supporters frame this as a security and integrity measure. Critics counter that such measures risk discrimination, due process violations, and could harm global mobility, families, and economies. To navigate this debate, we must carefully define terms and examine how these systems might work in practice. Important disclaimer. This video is for educational purposes only and does not constitute legal advice. Laws are evolving and differ by jurisdiction. If you are affected or concerned, consult a qualified attorney for guidance tailored to your circumstances. With that noted, let's define dual citizenship. Dual citizenship is a legal status in which a person is recognized as a citizen by two sovereign states at the same time. It can offer benefits like increased mobility, work and study opportunities, family unity across borders, and consular protection when abroad. However, it may also involve additional burdens such as complex tax obligations, possible service requirements, and navigating conflicting laws. Importantly, national approaches differ widely, with some countries embracing dual citizenship and others restricting or prohibiting it. Now that we have a baseline, let's examine the proposed loyalty tests. On one side, proponents argue that exclusive allegiance enhances national security, provides clarity of duty, and avoids split loyalties during crises. They also emphasize the symbolic power of a single citizenship. On the other side, opponents note that modern life is inherently global, and dual citizenship reflects that reality. They stress the importance of due process and non-discrimination, highlight economic benefits linked to openness, and point out that many democracies manage plural identities without undermining security. With these competing values in mind, let's visualize how a loyalty test might function. This flowchart will depict a hypothetical pipeline. First, the legislature drafts a bill and delegates criteria to an agency. Next, potential triggers like foreign voting or certain service ties prompt screening. Then, an assessment phase reviews evidence and provides notice to the individual. If the person passes, citizenship is retained. If they fail, revocation proceedings begin. Crucially, judicial review and appeals should be available to protect due process, along with data protection and anti-discrimination checks. Now, let's situate this in the broader legal landscape. The legal landscape includes bills that tighten oath requirements or create revocation pathways based on defined triggers. Enforcement could involve administrative screenings, data matching, and referrals across agencies. Such schemes are likely to face litigation on due process and equal protection grounds, with potential concerns about retroactive application. Internationally, these policies can create bilateral frictions, raise treaty questions, and complicate consular relations. Human consequences include risks of family separation, statelessness in rare cases, and chilling effects on diaspora communities. Next, let's compare how different countries approach dual citizenship. Here is a high-level snapshot of policies. The United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Germany, France, and Australia generally allow dual citizenship, with Germany's 2024 reforms expanding acceptance. India does not allow dual citizenship, offering overseas citizen of India status instead. Japan generally restricts dual citizenship and expects a formal choice by age 22. Singapore is restrictive, and many Gulf states limit or prohibit dual nationality. Specifics and exceptions vary, so always verify current local law. Now, let's map how a legal crisis could escalate over time. This timeline illustrates a plausible sequence. First, bills are introduced. Next, loyalty tests are piloted and initial revocations occur. Then, constitutional lawsuits emerge, leading to appellate and Supreme Court review. International responses and treaty tensions can follow. Finally, Legislatures may revise, narrow, or repeal the measures, culminating in a new steady state with enhanced safeguards or a scaled-back program. With that trajectory in mind, let's examine the constitutional and human rights questions. Key constitutional and human rights issues include due process, such as timely notice, access to evidence, impartial adjudication, and appeal rights. Equal protection considerations require that programs not discriminate based on national origin, ethnicity, or religion. Proportionality demands that sanctions correspond to proven risks, recognizing that revocation is an extraordinary measure. Retroactivity concerns arise if new rules are applied to past conduct. International obligations caution against creating statelessness and require respect for treaty commitments and consular norms. Now let's test your understanding with a quick quiz. Quiz time. Which statement best describes dual citizenship? Option A. Holding permanent residency in a second country. Option B. Being recognized as a legal citizen by two countries at the same time. Option C. Holding a work visa while remaining a citizen of your home country. Option D. Pledging temporary allegiance to a second nation during travel. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is being recognized as a legal citizen by two countries at the same time. This distinguishes dual citizenship from permanent residency or visas, which do not confer full citizenship rights and duties. With that clarified, let's move toward practical steps for those who may be affected. If you may be affected, start by documenting your status with official records. Monitor relevant legislation, rulemaking, and litigation. Consult an experienced immigration and constitutional lawyer for personalized advice. Conduct a risk assessment to identify potential triggers such as foreign voting or service obligations. Develop a compliance plan aligned with applicable law. Preserve communications and be ready to assert your due process and appeal rights if needed. Finally, seek community support from advocacy and diaspora organizations. Next, a few fast myth versus fact points. Key points to remember. Countries diverge significantly in how they handle dual citizenship. Loyalty tests raise due process and equal protection concerns beyond symbolic debates. Revocation is not the only policy tool. Targeted safeguards and oversight can mitigate risks. International obligations constrain policy choices, including the imperative to avoid statelessness and to respect treaties. Now let's visualize who the main stakeholders are. This pie chart represents the relative influence of key stakeholders. Legislatures set policy direction. Courts test constitutionality and enforce due process. Immigrant communities bring lived experience and mobilize civic engagement. Security agencies advise on risk. Businesses and universities influence talent flows and economic outcomes. Allies and international organizations shape external pressures and norms. With stakeholders in view, let's consider concrete scenarios. Consider these scenarios. A parent with children in two countries faces new travel restrictions after foreign voting triggers scrutiny. A researcher with dual nationality working on sensitive projects experiences clearance delays due to agency review. A dual national subject to compulsory service abroad seeks exemptions but encounters conflicting obligations. Diaspora voting in ancestral elections triggers risk assessments under new criteria. Finally, in rare situations, revocation could risk statelessness if the second country contests nationality, underscoring the need for robust safeguards. Now, another quick quiz to reinforce what we've covered. Second quiz. Which country in this list does not generally allow dual citizenship? Options are Canada, United Kingdom, Germany, Australia, and India. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is India. India does not permit dual citizenship. The Overseas Citizen of India program provides certain privileges but does not confer citizenship. With those fundamentals clarified, let's recap the big ideas and wrap up. In summary, dual citizenship combines cross-border rights and obligations, bringing both benefits and risks. Loyalty tests implicate due process, equality, and international law. Countries approach these issues differently, and reforms are moving quickly. If you are potentially affected, document your status, consult qualified counsel, and prepare a compliance strategy. Finally, stay informed as legislation and court rulings will determine how these debates resolve. Before we end, here's a final note. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, please like the video, share it with someone who might benefit, and subscribe for future deep dives. In the comments, we would love to hear your perspective on what loyalty should mean in a global age, and how democracies can balance security with openness.